It's time for America Outdoors Radio. The fast-paced hour of outdoors radio ahead is not only awesome, but unlike those other shows, you can actually sleep in for this one. Better still, we've got a special Pacific Northwest edition for you, sponsored by Northwest Sportsman Magazine. You won't find this version of America Outdoors Radio anywhere else. It's the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio. Brought to you by Fox Sports 1380 KRKO.
This week on the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio, we're going to be talking to Aaron Peterson. He's the owner of Peterson's Northwest Guide Service, and he'll tell you about the slow but sure Chinook salmon fishery developing on the Columbia River right now. Aaron's going to tell you where he's going to be fishing for springers, and no, it's not at Drano. You'll want to stick around for the end of the show, too, because we'll be introducing you to John Kirkpatrick at Grand Slam Bucktails. We met John and his partner Howie Barker at the Monroe Sportsman Show a couple of weeks ago, and John's going to tell you all about his lures, which do a great job of catching salmon out of Puget Sound and other waters as well. But first, it's time again to tell you what's hot in the Pacific Northwest. From the Everett Herald, we learn from outdoors columnist Wayne Cruz, and no, there is no relation, even though he's a really nice guy and everyone thinks we're related. But moving on, from Wayne Cruz, the kokanee fishery on Lake Stevens is on the verge of taking off. That's the word from Greg's Custom Rods, where owner Greg Rockenbach reports cold water temperatures in Lake Stevens have delayed the spring kokanee bite. However, fish are being caught, just not the numbers that will start showing up in the next week or two. Rockenbach recommends fishing the top 10 feet of the water column using a 4-inch dodger, 12 to 14 inches of leader, and a max wedding ring spinner. Red seems to be the go-to color right now. The fish are scattered, so covering a lot of water is important, according to Rockenbach. Kokanee are an awesome fish to catch and eat, but let's be honest. The fish most folks are after this weekend are trout, because today is the Lowland Lakes opener in Washington State, the most popular angling day of the year, and for good reason. Up to 16 million trout have been planted in lakes all over the Evergreen State for this opener. So, where's your best bets? If history is a guide, you can go off the top lakes listed at northwestfishingreports.com, which includes Conconully Lake and Reservoir in Okanagan County, where anglers average over 4 fish an outing. Williams Lake in Spokane County is another great opener location. In western Washington, Margaret Lake in King County is another 4 fish per angler shot, as is Bosworth Lake in Snohomish County. And heading up north, Silver Lake in Whatcom County got a whole bunch of fish planted recently and should also cough up about 4 trout per angler. Finally, heading east over the mountains again to north central Washington, Peregrine Lake in Okanagan County or Winthrop is another great bet, and there's a wonderful state park there to camp at too. Sticking east of the mountains, we'll head to Potholes Reservoir, where Peter Fisher with Mardon Resort reports the fishing is improving overall, with trout and largemouth bass providing the most action. The largemouth are moving into the sand dunes at the north end of the reservoir. They're still in the pre-spawn mode, but there's been reports of lots to 2 to 3 pound fish and several in the 4 to 6 pound range. Anglers fishing for rainbows on Pothole Reservoirs have also been pleased. There's been some caught off the dock and bank from 2 to 5 pounds. They're holding in 6 to 15 feet of water, so you don't need to cast as far as you think you might have to. You can find out more about fishing and camping and more at Eastern Washington's Potholes Reservoir by going to mardonresort.com. So there you go. That's what's hot this week in the Pacific Northwest.
And with that, let's head to this week's national edition of America Outdoors Radio.
Offshore Northwest is Washington's most exciting albacore tuna fishing charter, offering one-day run-and-gun live bait tuna fishing trips from Westport, Washington. You'll leave at first light, run an hour and a half out to the tuna grounds, and catch these fish till your arms fall off. They'll have you back to port by 5 p.m. on their 30-foot Parker boat. The tuna are coming, and this summer is looking strong, so book now by calling Captain Carey at 253-380-9973. That's 253-380-9973.
Wetlands are some of the most important ecosystems on Earth, but our wetlands are quickly disappearing. Find out how you can help. Join Ducks Unlimited today.
It's time for America Outdoors Radio, the show that covers the outdoor scene across the US of A and the entire continent. Fishing, hunting, conservation, outdoor recreation, and great destinations, we cover it all every week. It's your country, your outdoors. Let's explore it together with your host, John Cruz.
Welcome to the show, and I'd like to welcome some new listeners joining us this week from Chattanooga, Tennessee, who are tuning in to Nooga Radio at Hot News Talk AM 1240. We are thrilled to have this second affiliate from the Volunteer State on board, and in honor of that, we'll be talking to Steve Kite today. He owns Chattanooga Fishing Guides. Steve's going to be telling you about some big, and I mean really big, largemouth bass you can catch out of Lake Chickamauga at this time of year, and also tell you about the fun you can have catching catfish out of the Tennessee River. In other news, spring turkey season is open in many states across the country, and I've been seeing quite a few hunters who have been posting successful photos on Facebook, Instagram, and in other places. I didn't make it out to hunt this past Easter weekend, but I did go for a walk up a road bordering private property on Easter Sunday where I often see flocks of turkey. As a matter of fact, I saw one tom by himself on a hill about 120 yards away from me, slowly working his way along the side slope of that property towards some ponderosa pine trees. Suddenly, I heard a shotgun blast sound out, and that tom wasn't walking anymore. A father and son bagged that big bird. I can't tell you which one of them shot it, but I can tell you they were both pretty excited during this end of evening hunt. I shouted out my congratulations to them and continued on my uphill walk, and soon enough saw a pickup truck with two teenage girls in the back. They were dressed in camo. I asked one of them how their hunt went that day, and one of those young ladies beamed like the winner of a beauty pageant as she told me she had bagged a turkey earlier in the day and was on her way to meet her cousin who had just bagged one too. That cousin, by the way, was the one I just saw a few minutes earlier. All in all, I'd say that family had one heck of an Easter, and I'm pretty sure turkey is going to be on their menu in the days ahead. Another person who went turkey hunting this week is one of our guests, Cody Rich. He hosts a weekly podcast called The Rich Outdoors, and we'll find out how he did this past weekend on his turkey hunt before turning our attention to another spring opportunity, bear hunting. There is a season for spring bear in several states and Canadian provinces, and Cody will give you some tips on how to bag a bruin in the days ahead. Switching back to fishing, we're going to take you to Washington State. That's where Carrie Allen, the owner of Offshore Northwest Guide Service, can take you out on the freshwater for kokanee, onto Puget Sound for sea run cutthroat trout, and onto the open ocean for tuna on run and gun trips. All three look like all sorts of fun to me, and I can't wait to find out more about these adventures. Last but not least, we've got some interviews to share about the shooting sports too. We'll start off chatting with Sam Hong. He's with Spinta Precision. They're located in Southern California, and some of his employees are getting ready to head to Atlanta, Georgia for the huge NRA annual meetings and exhibits taking place there later this week. He'll give you his take on this massive event for firearms owners and also tell you what's new from his company that specializes in making affordable, quality barrels and bolt carriers for AR-15 rifles. Speaking of AR-15 rifles, why is it we don't have folding stocks for them? I mean, several 100,000 Kalashnikov owners can't be wrong, can they? The folding stock is a great way to go, but the best we've been able to do for the AR-15 is to make dozens of variations of collapsible stocks, at least until now. Russ Simonis with Deadfoot Arms out of Wisconsin makes folding stocks for AR-15 rifles of various calibers, along with the combat vets he works with, and he's going to tell you more about them towards the end of our hour-long broadcast. But before we get to that story, we're taking you to Tennessee to talk a little bit about bass and catfish. In honor of our new affiliate in Chattanooga, Tennessee, AM 1240, we are checking in with Steve Kite. He is the owner of Chattanooga Fishing Guides. He fishes the Tennessee River, and he also fishes Chickamauga Lake, one of the best bass fishing lakes in North America. Steve, welcome to the show.
How you doing today?
I am doing well. How is the fishing on Chickamauga Lake right now?
Yeah, she's fishing really good right now. Got a lot of fish coming off of the bed, and there's still some fish up shallow. So there's a lot of different presentations that you can use to catch them right now. Some big fish starting to be caught on some of your bigger baits, your big swim baits. A few crankbait fish are coming up deep, but your swim bait seems to be the main deal going right now.
You know, that's really surprising to hear because when I think swim baits, I always think California. That's what those guys use over in the Delta there. I never think about using swim baits for those southern fisheries. When did that catch on?
Oh, we got some big old girls in here that really like those big shad. We use a lot of Shadalicious, like 5.5 inch swim baits. Some of the guys throw some of the California baits even and do real well. There's a friend of mine's been throwing one last week, and he caught 2 over 10 on it.
Oh, my gosh.
She fishes really good. We're not catching as many fish as we thought we should be sometimes, but the big girls are still there.
Well, not only do you have the big girls, those big girls in terms of those largemouth bass, I understand that in Chickamauga Lake, they get all the way up to 15 pounds. That's an incredible once-in-a-lifetime bass, isn't it?
Oh, yes, sir. And numerous people, when they come in here, they catch their biggest bass of their life. And, some are disappointed. You can't make them bite. And these Florida bass, they're a little bit more lure shy than a northern largemouth. So when you do catch one of them, everything had to be right for you to get one to bite.
In other words, you earned it, didn't you?
Exactly.
I like it. Let's change topics here. Not only do you offer fishing for big bass on Chickamauga Lake, you also offer catfishing on the Tennessee River, and that's really taken off as a sport, hasn't it?
Oh, yes, sir. And the catfishing out here is phenomenal. Usually people want to keep some of them, and I tell them to bring a cooler, and they usually have to go back and get a bigger one.
And it's not just one species of catfish you're catching there. What are the different species that you're catching?
Oh, you got blue cats, you got flatheads, you got channel cats, are the main three that show up, and then you've got a couple of subspecies in there, but there's really some giant blue cats in here and some big old flatheads that are you got to have some heavy gear to get those things in.
Now, are you basically anchoring up and plunking bait off the bottom to get these catfish?
Actually, we're finding them with our electronics. We can just idle around a little bit where we think they ought to be, and we'll see them right there. It's sort of like a charter boat, deep sea fishing, and we'll just try to drop right down on them. We'll say, there they are, catch them, and just drop right down. And usually the action's pretty good.
Oh, that sounds like a ton of fun. So, folks, if you want to go fishing on Chickamauga Lake for big largemouth bass or on the Tennessee River for all sorts of catfish, the folks to go with are Chattanooga fishing guide. Steve Kite is the owner. He's got a co-guide that fishes with them, too. What's his name?
Yeah, Chris Coleman. We spend a lot of time. We're fully licensed with the state and the federal government, and we spend a lot of time doing that, and we are really enjoying getting out there, and we're offering some great fishing to some people.
Well, I'll tell you what, Steve, sounds like a great excuse to visit Chattanooga and go fishing to me. The website, folks, is ChattanoogaFishingGuides.com. That's ChattanoogaFishingGuides.com. Steve and his co-guide have been doing this a long time. They'll show you a great time out there, whether you want to go after bass or whether you want to go after catfish. The website, one more time, ChattanoogaFishingGuides.com. Steve, thanks for sharing this with us on America Outdoors Radio.
Certainly, I enjoyed it, and I will be listening.
The Deadfoot Arms Modified Cycle System with folding stock adapter is the only drop-in side folder for the AR-15 rifle that allows for full weapons function with the stock folded or deployed. 100% combat veteran-owned and operated, all products made in the USA. Contact Deadfoot Arms at 608-764-3176, 608-764-3176, or log on to deadfootarms.com to upgrade your rifle today. That's deadfootarms.com.
Have you wondered where to get your bolt carrier groups and barrels for the AR-15? Maybe you're looking for a quality 9mm bolt carrier. Spinta Precision is your source. Whether you're plinking, target shooting, or running a 3-gun match, Spinta Precision has what you need. Every product is American-made by Patriots for Patriots. Visit us at spintaprecision.com. That's spintaprecision.com for top-quality bolt carriers and barrels.
D.M. Bullard Leather has been in business for over 20 years. We use Herman oak leather to make concealed and open carry gun holsters, as well as knife sheaths, belts, cowboy gear, and wallets. All of our products are handmade, and we even offer exotic skins if you're looking for something really special. Check out our products in 16 different gun shops or go to our website at dmbullard.com. That's dmbullard.com for the best leather you will ever have.
Hughes Craft is the Pacific Northwest best-selling boat. It's a family fishing boat that has been providing the most safety, fishability, and the best value to Northwest boaters since 1948. Hughes Craft's welded aluminum boats are built for serious fishermen with plenty of room for fighting fish, not the rest of the crew. Our state-of-the-art design allows for pure fishing functionality and the durability to last season after season, year after year, and decade after decade. To find the Hughes Craft dealer nearest you, visit hughescraft.com.
Invasive species are organisms that are non-native to an ecosystem. They outcompete native species and reduce the quality of our resources. We can all prevent the spread by following the simple clean, drain, and dry steps. Clean all watercraft, trailers, and outdoor equipment. Drain all water from boat live wells, motors, ballast tanks, and bilges. And lastly, thoroughly dry all equipment and gear. Do your part to preserve our amazing outdoor heritage for future generations.
Looking for the safest, most stable riding boat on the market? Welcome to Stabicraft. Born in New Zealand, Stabicraft has a built-in reputation for making the most seaworthy boats on the market. Heavy-gauge aluminum chambered boats with models ranging from 14 to 29 feet in a variety of configurations to suit all your needs. Check out the all-new 2750 center cab, a walk-around design for the Northwest market, and packed with industry-leading features to suit all types of fishing, allowing you to adventure with confidence. Book a test ride today at stabicraft.com.
Are you an outfitter, sporting goods retailer, boat dealer, or someone else in the outdoors industry? If you are, you know targeted advertising works best, and what would work better than advertising with America Outdoors Radio? Our hour-long show is heard throughout Seattle, Everett, and the East Side every Saturday morning, and your message will be heard there too. Better still, our rates are way more affordable than you think. Want to find out more? Contact me, John Cruz, through my website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. That's America Outdoors Radio, bringing you more business.
Springtime is prime time to head to Mardon Resort to fish, hike, boat, and see wildlife. Park your RV, pitch a tent, or rent a wonderful park cottage at Central Washington's Potholes Reservoir and go play outside. When it comes to relaxing and enjoying the outdoors, Mardon is the place to be. To find out more, log on to MardonResort.com. That's MardonResort.com to book your next getaway where the fish bite, but we don't.
Did you check out this month's edition of Northwest Sportsman Magazine? If you didn't, you're missing out because it's the best publication out there that covers the fishing and hunting scene, not only in Washington State, but in the entire Northwest. Northwest Sportsman Magazine has got great writers and great content you need to have to be successful. Northwest Sportsman Magazine is the publication for you. Find out more at nwsportsmanmag.com or pick up a copy at a newsstand near you. Welcome back to America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. Our next guest is coming at us from Dallas, Oregon, and his name is Cody Rich. He actually hosts a podcast that deals with hunting. You can find it at therichoutdoors.net. Cody, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, John.
So, Cody, first things first, before we get into the main topic, I know you just went out for turkey, and did you get a gobbler on the opening day of turkey season?
I did. Well, thank you. And, it was one of those days where everything just came together, and it almost happened too fast. I got one 10 minutes into opening day, and, it was exciting, and it worked just, textbook, and called the gobbler in and made it happen with my bow. So I'm excited, but now I only get one more turkey and I'll be done. So,
well, say what you will. Getting a turkey on the opening morning, getting it that quick, there's a lot to be said for that. So good for you. And yes, you get one more turkey, but I know that your attention is starting to shift towards spring bear hunting. And it's not legal in all states. As a matter of fact, it's legal in about, 8 states, 5 Canadian provinces. Where can folks hunt for bear this spring?
Yeah, I'm excited for bear season. Spring bear is something I look forward to every year. And finally have a tag in my home state of Oregon, which, I spend a lot of time hunting. And I think kind of the popular states, we're kind of past the draw for some of the states, but the popular ones as far as Oregon, Idaho, Montana, and even Wyoming, you can get tags that are available. And, Idaho's, you can get them over the counter. Oregon is a draw. We do have some over-the-counter tags, but they're first come, first served, so they are sold out already. But Idaho always has tags available, and my home state of Oregon has some great bears as well. Idaho has great bears. Montana has great bears, so it's a lot of fun.
And there's a few other states where spring bear hunting is allowed, which includes Alaska, where we have several listeners tuning in, also Arizona, Utah, and on tribal lands in Maine as well. If you are going to go north of the border, British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Quebec, Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick all have spring bear season. So let's talk a little bit about hunting spring bear. I know it's different than fall bear. We'll get to that in a minute. But first things first, when you go out for a spring bear hunt, what's your favorite rifle? What's your favorite ammo that you like to use for these Bruins?
Well, I am kind of partial to the old school guns, and I do a fair amount of hunting with my Sharps 4570. So this year I'll be packing my Sharps, and my favorite load for bears is definitely a big, heavy 430 grain ammo.
So I got to ask you, this Sharps 4570, is this a lever action?
No, it's a breech block, and so it's a single shot, and it's a lot of fun. It's a little bit of a challenge, but I think it kind of pulls to the heritage of hunting for me.
Oh, I can see that. You are definitely going old school here and doing it right. For the modern rifle hunter, though, what's the minimum caliber you would suggest? Would it be 270?
I think you can make a 270 work. And, if I'm going to go out there, if I have the ability, I would say, a 300 Win Mag would be nice. And from there up, bears are a very tough animal, and they have some heavy bones. And so, if I could go with that 300 and the 180 grain bullet, I think I would, go there. But I think if you have a 270, you can make it work and not have to, go buy a new gun. But hey, maybe going and buying a new gun is a great excuse, or maybe a bear hunt's a great excuse to go buy a new gun.
Shh, don't tell the missus about that. All right. Now that we've got our rifle, now that we got our ammo, let's talk about how to do it. And when it comes to bear hunting, I'm familiar with 2 methods. Number 1 is spot and stalk. Number 2 is baiting for bear. Let's take this one at a time. Which do you prefer, and which do you think is the best way to go?
Growing up in Oregon and spending most of my time hunting in Oregon, I'm an absolute fan of spot and stalk. I love to spot bears. Nothing like sitting behind the glass and looking for bears. So that's probably one of my favorites. Baiting is it's legal in Idaho, and it's a great method, and I think it's probably far more challenging than most people see. Most people look at it or look down on it for being too easy, but I think it's probably a lot harder than most people think. And in most areas of the country, and even up in Canada, it's one of the only ways to manage bears. You have these very dense, thick areas. Spot and stalk hunting is not necessarily always an option. And so being able to bait bears is a great way to manage those numbers.
I never thought of it that way. Now that you explain it, it makes perfect sense. But I'll be honest, I was one of those guys who always kind of looked down on the whole baiting for bears. But you're right. If the brush is too thick, spot and stalk isn't an option, and that's about the only way you're going to do it with any measure of success. So let's now talk about tips for success when it comes to spring hunting versus fall bear hunting, because I'm guessing there's some differences, isn't there?
Yeah, and it's all about finding the right food sources. And, whether it's fall or spring, you just have to know what your food sources are. So in the springtime, a lot of these wild onions or the balsam root plants, but that's the type of vegetation that you're looking for, those greens. And when the bears come out in the spring, they're really trying to fatten up, and they're looking for a lot of those balsam roots, wild onions, and things like that. And so that's why you'll find a lot of these bears in the springtime foraging on these south-facing slopes as that new vegetation pops up in the springtime.
Now, I have heard some people say if you can find a place where there's a lot of rotted wood, that's going to attract bears that are basically going to turn over that rotted wood looking for bugs to eat, and that can be effective in the spring. True or false?
It can be true. Southwest Oregon, that's, a lot of the bears will feed on grubs and things like that. And so down in Southwest in the fall time, depending on what the vegetation looks like, they can be found in those old clear cuts, tearing apart logs and looking for grubs and beetles and things like that. Yes.
And when it comes to scouting for bear, obviously if it's a spot and stalk, you're going to be glassing those slopes, especially those south-facing slopes that get a lot of the sunshine and where the vegetation grows first. What other tips might you have, either A, for scouting, or B, for the hunt itself to have some success this spring?
Like you said, it's all about that vegetation. I think the number one thing is covering ground. And so if you can kind of just cover ground and look for those open faces on the south-facing slopes, so you're just looking at those south-facing slopes, looking for that green vegetation. And once you start to see what that vegetation looks like from afar, you can really start to tell which side hills have the best vegetation. And from there, it's just a matter of kind of putting the hours in behind the glass and waiting. Bears will kind of come and feed for a few hours off and on throughout the day. Most people are seeing the majority of the bears in the evening before dark, but you can see bears throughout the entire day. So I say spend a lot of time behind the glass and don't be afraid to hunt all day.
All right, that's some great advice, folks, from Cody Rich, hailing from Dallas, Oregon, and the host of a podcast that you'll find at therichoutdoors.net. We got about 30 seconds. Tell our listeners a little bit about what they're going to hear on your podcast on a regular basis.
The Rich Outdoors is all about breaking down the tips and tactics from some of hunting's greats, and, that's what we do. So we focus mainly on hunting and hearing the stories behind some of the greatest hunters out there.
And how often do you publish your podcast there, Cody?
We have a podcast out every Thursday morning. We try to get an extra episode every once in a while on Tuesday morning, but every Thursday morning you can look for a new podcast.
Well, there you go, folks. Another reason to listen to The Great Outdoors. You'll find it at therichoutdoors.net. If you're into hunting, this is going to be a great podcast. I've listened to it. I'm enjoying it, and I think you will too. The website, one more time, is therichoutdoors.net. It's a podcast that you'll find there hosted by Cody Rich. Cody, thanks for this great bear advice. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
Skinner Sights is your source for accurate, durable, and beautiful peep sights for your rifles. These rugged sights have been developed during a lifetime of hunting and shooting in the outdoors. Our sights are handcrafted in Montana and sold for an affordable price. If you need a solid sighting system or innovative gun cases to carry your firearms, please visit us at SkinnerSights.com. That's SkinnerSights.com, from the company that aims to please.
Oregon's Tillamook Bay is considered the greatest fishing experience on the West Coast for fall Chinook salmon and winter steelhead, and Dungeness crab is plentiful. 5 major rivers connect with the ocean on the Tillamook coast. It's not unusual to snag a 40 to 50 pounder. Go out in a boat or stand on a riverbank or dock. Try fishing from a dory boat and experience the thrill of a beach launch and landing. Use spinners, sand shrimp, or salmon eggs to lure them. The fish will line up to grab your bait. Go to tillamookcoast.com/fishing to find guides and places to stay.
It's time for another local shot of the outdoors. It's the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio, and you'll only hear it here on Fox Sports 1380 KRKO.
Next up on the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio, we're talking to Aaron Peterson again with Peterson's Northwest Guide Service, and we're talking about springer fishing. As most of you know, it's not been an easy season so far for the springers on the lower and mid-Columbia River, but Aaron, I understand you think it's about to change.
Yeah, the water is getting better, the visibility is improving every day, and the bite is starting to turn on.
So I know we're pretty much at the time where most of the guys are switching from below Bonneville to above Bonneville. Are you going to be one of those that's going to be doing the drill at Drano and fishing around Wind River as well?
Yeah, I absolutely love that fishery. Getting into Drano, getting out of the toilet bowl and fishing the main lake has been really good for me in the past. I enjoy pulling super baits and plugs and that style of fishing, and then dropping down to Wind River and pulling bait on the outside buoy line.
So that sounds, quite frankly, a little more enjoyable than going in a very tight circle at Drano. Is that what you could think as well?
Yeah, the bite will pick up and be good there, but I can do just as good out in the lake, and I don't have to get into that traffic jam and do the circle thing. Just as many fish are caught out in the lake, and people tend to overlook it.
Do you still have openings?
I do. I have a few openings in the end of April and a few in the beginning of May.
What's the limit going to be, 1 or 2 springers?
It is 1 spring Chinook a person.
All right. And last but not least, the website if people want to book for you.
PetersonsNorthwest.com, and there you can see prices, availability, and a little about each fishery we have to offer.
That's Aaron Peterson. His website, PetersonsNorthwest.com. That's PetersonsNorthwest.com. Book your Springer trip down on the Columbia River right now. Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks for having me, John.
There's a whole bunch more of the great outdoors coming your way on Fox Sports 1380.
Springtime is prime time to head to Mardon Resort to fish, hike, boat, and see wildlife. Park your RV, pitch a tent, or rent a wonderful park cottage at Central Washington's Potholes Reservoir and go play outside. When it comes to relaxing and enjoying the outdoors, Mardon is the place to be. To find out more, log on to MardonResort.com. That's MardonResort.com to book your next getaway, where the fish bite, but we don't.
Looking for a way to get the message out about your business to hunters and anglers throughout the Seattle and Everett area? Then consider advertising with America Outdoors Radio on Fox Sports 1380 KRKO. To find out more, contact John Cruz through his website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. You're back with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz, and this portion of the show is brought to you by Northwest Sportsman Magazine. It's the monthly magazine that editor Andy Walgamot puts out every month, covering the fishing scene, the hunting scene, and more throughout the great Northwest. Look for it at a newsstand near you. Speaking of the Northwest, we are talking with Captain Kerry Allen. He is the owner of Offshore Northwest, offering you fishing charters for all sorts of different species in Washington State. Kerry, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So, Kerry, let's go ahead and talk about 3 different species that you're taking clients out for this spring and summer. And the first one we're going to start off with is, well, it's not offshore. It's very inshore. It's for kokanee, landlocked salmon, some of the tastiest fish you're going to ever catch out of the freshwater. Where are you taking clients for those?
Well, we're fishing American Lake. We're going to try to do some of the other local lakes in the area. Kokanee has become a really popular fishery around here, and we're really excited to be a part of it.
So, Kerry, American Lake's located in Pierce County, not too far from Tacoma for our listeners who aren't that familiar with our area. And most people who fish American Lake are fishing for trout there. It's very well stocked for trout. I haven't heard too much about the kokanee fishery. How big do the kokanee get there, and what's the limit?
Oh, they get 15, 17 inches. I think the limit's 8 or 10. It's kind of a new fishery for us, so, we're kind of working it out.
I understand completely. In American Lake, most kokanee lakes tend to be pretty deep. American Lakes, it's not that deep of a lake, is it?
No, it's not real deep of a lake, because it's really, as soon as the water warms up, and it's kind of starting to now, it gets to be pretty good fishing there. We're really excited because the VA hospital's there, and we plan to take a lot of those guys and do some of that stuff, too.
Good for you, Kerry. I think that's fantastic. Getting our wounded warriors out there on the water definitely helps them to heal. Let's turn our attention to cutthroat trout, and we're not talking cuts in the rivers or streams of the Cascade Mountains, folks. We're talking cutthroat trout. You're fishing for them in Puget Sound in the salt water. Tell our listeners about that.
Yeah, we're running fly trips out of Gig Harbor, and it's all over the South Sound. There's awesome sea run cutthroat fishing. It's all catch and release, but it's one of the best fly fisheries in the state.
So are you doing this from the boat, or are you basically doing a wade and walk along the beach there?
No, we're doing it from the boat. We're taking the boat wherever the fish happen to be, and guys are swinging flies at them and catch and releasing them like crazy.
Oh, it sounds like a blast. Are we talking your typical 8 to 12-inch cutthroat here?
Yeah, they're not huge, but they're a lot of fun on the fly. Also have a awesome run right now of these local coho that are 16, 18 inches, and those are a lot of fun on a fly or a little spin rig.
Oh, I'll bet they are. So coho, cutthroat on the fly in the South Sound, that sounds like a hoot. But what you're best known for with Offshore Northwest is your run and gun tuna trips out of Westport. Why don't you tell our listeners about how that's shaping up for this summer?
Oh, that's looking like it's going to be awesome. We're going to have a great fishery this year. Last year was a little bit off. I've never seen 2 off years in a row, so this year should be pretty great.
And when it comes to your trips, I mean, folks, again, we're talking run and gun here. A lot of charters offer tuna trips out of Westport, Ilwaco, Garibaldi. But the problem is a lot of times you got to get to the docks at like 2 in the morning and you're not getting back to the following evening. It is an expedition. But you've got, basically, for lack of a better word, a turbocharged boat where you get out there in a hurry, don't you?
Yeah, we're running a 28-foot Parker boat with 600 horsepower. We're typically there first.
And what time are you leaving in the morning? What time are you getting back?
We leave at first light. We never leave in the dark because we don't have to. But we leave at first light. We run an hour and a half, catch tuna till you can't stand it. We're home by 5 every day.
Love it. And when it comes to tuna, I understand most of your clients are bringing home, what, 5 tuna apiece?
Yeah, 5 or 6 tuna apiece. We shut the boat off at 40. Sometimes it's a little hard to stop. But we try to shut the boat off at 40. We don't want to take any more than we can responsibly ice.
I think that's a good idea. But, boy, I can imagine trying to convince your clients when the bite is on that they got to reel in and stop. That's probably not an easy conversation to have, is it?
Amen. It's hard for me to stop, too.
All right, we got to go. But before we do, let's give folks a website so they can find out about booking kokanee trips, cutthroat trips, or tuna trips with you with Offshore Northwest.
Okay, it's www.offshorenorthwest.com.
That website again, folks, offshorenorthwest.com, offshorenorthwest.com. If you're going to be in Western Washington this spring or summer, make it a point to book a trip with Captain Kerry. He's got you covered. Whether you want to go kokanee fishing in the freshwater, catch coho or cutthroat trout on the fly in the South Sound, or go out for a great day of tuna fishing out of Westport. Kerry, great to have you back on the show, and we look forward to chatting with you again.
Thanks, brother. Have a good day.
Next on America Outdoors Radio, we're heading to sunny Southern California. That's where we're going to be talking to Sam Hong, a.k.a. Sam Spinta. Why do they call him that? Because he is the owner of Spinta Precision. Sam, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us, John.
So, Sam, couple of things here. Number one, I know you're sending a couple of your representatives from your company that makes rifle barrels and bolt carrier groups and more for AR-15 rifles. You're sending them to the big NRA annual meetings and exhibits taking place later this week in Atlanta. I understand that's just a huge show, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely a great show, a big show. I think it's growing every year, and I think if you haven't been there, you should definitely go.
Well, it's definitely on my bucket list. In fact, I understand from an interview we did a couple of weeks ago that they are expecting 800 exhibitors, 80,000 people. Folks, if you're into firearm, if you're into your Second Amendment rights, this is put on by the National Rifle Association, and it is definitely the meeting and show and place to be in the week ahead. But in the meantime, let's take a little bit of time and talk about what you're making in Southern California. Tell our listeners a little bit about the Spinta Precision story.
Well, originally we started manufacturing car wheels. We used to machine the centers of forged wheels. And then when the price gouging started, when there was a shortage of parts, people were panic buying. What we did was we started manufacturing parts for the AR-15 platform, so we can sell it at a price that will be affordable to the common man. The price gouging happening, people were selling strip lowers, forged lowers for $300-400, BCGs for $200, $300, and we just thought it was ridiculous. And we know some companies do that, but we'd like to be a company that never ever does that and offer a quality part without any of the price gouging. No matter where the industry goes, we want to offer a quality part at an affordable price, and that's kind of how we started.
So BCGs, folks, that's bolt carrier groups, and that is an integral part of any AR-15 rifle. And let's talk about that. So you're offering at an affordable price, but you're offering a quality product. How are you managing to do both?
Well, we realized when we started manufacturing in the market, there's a huge gap in profit. It's how the military got their guns really cheap. And we realized that although there's a good amount of profit to be made in the industry, we would like to offer the common man affordable price just because we'd like to get an AR-15 in everyone's household, no matter what stage in life you are, whether you make a lot of money, a little bit of money, we think it should be affordable.
Well, Sam, you are speaking to me. I'll tell you what, I like what I'm hearing. Let's tell folks a little bit about your rifle barrels, because it's not just 5.56 millimeter that you are manufacturing. You've got all sorts of different caliber rifle barrels for AR-15s, don't you?
Yes. Originally, we started off with our 6.5 Grendel barrel. We realized when we looked at the market, the 6.5 Grendel was extremely expensive. You're talking about $400 for a barrel. When we came out with our barrel, we retailed it for $169.99, which we had a sale on. And during testing, we're hitting half MOA, 3/4 MOA. It was an exceptional barrel, and we still manufactured that this day. And it's just a phenomenal barrel. And that's kind of how we got known in the industry.
Folks, we are already running out of time, but trust me on this. They've got barrels in just about any caliber you can imagine for your AR-15. So whether you need bolt carrier groups, whether you need barrels, whether you need other parts and accessories for your AR-15 rifle, and you want them at an affordable price. Again, quality parts, affordable price. You don't often hear those two things in the same sentence, but you'll get them through Spinta Precision. The place to go is their website. It's Spinta, SPINTA Precision.com. That's SpintaPrecision.com, located in Southern California. They can help get you the AR-15 of your dreams. Sam, thanks for telling us all about this on America Outdoors Radio.
Thank you for having us, John. It's always a pleasure.
Have you wondered where to get your bolt carrier groups and barrels for the AR-15? Maybe you're looking for a quality 9mm bolt carrier. Spinta Precision is your source. Whether you're plinking, target shooting, or running a 3-gun match, Spinta Precision has what you need. Every product is American-made by Patriots for Patriots. Visit us at SpintaPrecision.com. That's SpintaPrecision.com for top-quality bolt carriers and barrels.
Offshore Northwest is Washington's most exciting albacore tuna fishing charter, offering one-day run-and-gun live-bait tuna fishing trips from Westport, Washington. You'll leave at first light, run an hour and a half out to the tuna grounds, and catch these fish till your arms fall off. They'll have you back to port by 5 p.m. on their 30-foot Parker boat. The tuna are coming, and this summer is looking strong, so book now by calling Captain Carey at 253-380-9973. That's 253-380-9973.
It started in 1971 with the adjustable fishing float. Since then, Double X Tackle has grown into one of the premier American manufacturers of fishing tackle. The core values of the family-owned company have never changed. Make the best fishing tackle possible at the best price and make it in the United States. Available at quality tackle dealers or online at doublextackle.com, where X marks the spot for quality and X marks the spot for value. doublextackle.com.
Homer Ocean Charters, offering premium halibut and salmon fishing since 1979 in Homer, Alaska. We also offer kayaking, hiking, remote cabin rentals, and water taxi service to all destinations in Kachemak Bay State Park. Call 907-235-6212 for reservations. That's 907-235-6212. Again, that's 907-235-6212 for Homer Ocean Charters.
Tom and Jerry's Boat Center in Mount Vernon is Washington's largest Hughes Craft and Kingfisher aluminum boat dealer. As a leader in sales, service, and fun on the water, Tom and Jerry's only purpose is to make sure you end up with the right boat for your family's needs at a price that will make you smile. Whether it's a new Hughes Craft or Kingfisher or a new Yamaha or Honda outboard, Tom and Jerry's can take care of all your needs. Check us out at tomandjerrys.net, and we'll see you on the water.
The Deadfoot Arms Modified Cycle System with folding stock adapter is the only drop-in side folder for the AR-15 rifle that allows for full weapons function with the stock folded or deployed. 100% combat veteran-owned and operated, all products made in the USA. Contact Deadfoot Arms at 608-764-3176, 608-764-3176, or log on to deadfootarms.com to upgrade your rifle today. That's deadfootarms.com.
Welcome back to America Outdoors Radio. This segment is sponsored by the American Shooting Journal. It is the monthly publication that covers the firearms scene throughout North America and the shooting sports too. You can find it all over the country. Look for the American Shooting Journal at a newsstand near you. We're checking in again with Russ Simonis. He's with Deadfoot Arms out of Wisconsin. They are getting ready to go to the NRA meetings and exhibits in Atlanta, Georgia. We already told you, this is a huge event. 80,000 people expected. 800 exhibitors are going to be there. And Russ, I understand you're going to be there too.
Yeah, we are going to be in booth 601.
Well, Russ, I had the pleasure of meeting you during SHOT Show in Las Vegas this year, and I was fascinated by the story behind Deadfoot Arms and what you provide, because you have a modified cycle system that transfers just about any AR-15 rifle into a folding stock rifle. This is fascinating to me. How exactly does this work?
Yeah, thanks, John. So what we did is we developed and patented a dual-spring bufferless cycle system that's a retrofit kit for your AR-15 rifle. And what's unique about the modified cycle system is that it will transform your rifle into not only a side folder, but a side folder rifle that still functions with the stock folded or deployed. So it's unique in that it's the first of its kind that you use your upper receiver, your lower receiver, no need to re-zero. You install our system with bolt carrier into your rifle. It's about a 5-minute process, and you've got a full function side folder. Obviously, that's something that's been coveted for a while in the AR-15 market, and because of the nature of the AR-15, how it's constructed, the Eugene Stoner style cycle system with the cycle going into the buffer tube prohibits that. So what we did is we developed just a much shorter cycle with a shortened version of the M16A2 bolt carrier group and our shorter receiver extension. Our receiver extension is 2.5 inches off the back of the lower receiver, and then the folding stock adapter is retrofitted from there. So quite simply, we just found a way to really condense the standard cycle into a much shorter package to allow for that folding stock to be attached and then allow the weapon to continue to function.
Well, I'll tell you what, Russ, you just answered my second question, which was, why haven't we had a folding stock before? Because everyone knows, anyone who's ever seen people armed with, Kalashnikov rifles, whether they be AK-47s or whatever on the news or in footage, has noticed a good portion of them have folding stocks. It's a great way to go. But we've always had, fixed stocks or collapsible stocks. But I'm going to ask you a question here. There's still going to be some people out there who are thinking, well, why do I need a folding stock? I've got a collapsible stock. What are the advantages of the folding stock versus a collapsible stock?
The biggest advantages outright are going to be the overall length of rifle, and it all depends to the user. What are you doing with that rifle? A lot of our customers are law enforcement based, securities industries. We do some smaller deals right now with Department of Defense, and if you're operating in vehicular operations or urban terrain or inside of buildings, the length of the rifle and the shorter you can make that rifle with it still functioning will give you a tactical advantage over your adversaries in that scenario. It's just easier to maneuver with a shorter rifle overall, especially when you're operating
in close quarters. Our system is great for vehicular operations. One thing that we found was the standard M4s that we were carrying overseas, just too long for the Humvee operations we were executing over there. And so, we went to the drawing board to find a way to make something that, obviously was shorter, but still could function, just so it was easier to, operate and do our business within the vehicle. But the biggest advantage is really compactness. And anybody who's out there looking to build like a short-barreled rifle, or someone who's running a shorter version of a collapsible stock, they know for those same exact reasons, the shorter I can make this, the easier it is to transport, the easier it is to carry, and overall, just the easier it is to use because the rifle's not so long.
You're absolutely right. And one other thing, too, depending on the collapsible stock you have, sometimes, folks, it will collapse at the worst possible time that you want it to collapse. And other times, it won't extend. And when you really need it to extend, it's just another muscle memory issue you don't have to worry about in a tense situation. When your adrenaline's pumping, with a folding stock, it's so much easier. Just flip it back, you're ready to go. And that's really a big part of it, too, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We designed the modified cycle system and the folding and stock adapter to be a very fast system. We use a tension side lock, so when you have the weapon in the folded configuration and you're going to extend the stock out, deploy it, if you will, you don't have to search for a button or search for some type of lever to release it. You just snap it out into its extended position. And then we also sell a 5-position collapsible stock with our adapter that's also button-free. We like to say grip it and rip it. You're able to just grab the butt plate of that stock, pull it back to a preset length of pull that you can choose. It's a 5-position collapsible stock, as I mentioned, and you can go from the folded configuration to your preferred length of pull with that weapon shouldered in less than half a second. It's a very fast transition, smooth transition, and gets you to where you need to be so you can put targets more accurately downrange. However, if you are carrying it, again, with the stock folded, you can still fire it from that folded position, especially if you're faced with a quick reactive fire situation.
All right, we are starting to run short on time, but one thing we talked about last time when we talked about with Russ, I'm just going to touch on here again before we go, is that Russ and his co-workers, his buddies, they came up with this during a deployment with the Wisconsin National Guard to Iraq, serving our country, and the bulk of the people that work at Deadfoot Arms, they're combat veterans, aren't they, Russ?
Yeah, we are actually 100% combat veteran-owned and operated. We have 40 years combined service in the infantry between our 6 team members and then 70 combined years of service overall. So we've been doing it for a while. We love what we do, both serving in the National Guard and then our endeavors with Deadfoot Arms. And it's been a pleasure to take what we've learned on the military side of things and being able to transition our expertise to civilian and law enforcement and to folks here back in the States.
All right, well, folks, if you want to transform your AR-15 rifle, whether it's a 223, a 5.56, or even a 9mm AR-15 into a folding stock rifle, you can do so. And the place to go is deadfootarms.com. That's deadfootarms.com. That's the website for Deadfoot Arms. They make the modified cycle system that transforms your AR-15 into a folding stock rifle. Nobody else does it. Deadfootarms.com is a place to go. And again, this company, 100% U.S. of A. combat veterans. Russ, thanks for your service and way to go in terms of your American ingenuity in coming up with this clever invention.
Thank you so much, John. We appreciate the opportunity.
I hope you've enjoyed our show this week. It's been a fun one, and we've covered a lot of ground. Everything from bass and catfish angling in Tennessee to fishing for all sorts of species in Washington State to finding out about some great parts and accessories for your AR-15. And of course, getting the lowdown on spring bear hunting. If you missed part of our show, you can catch all of it on a podcast in a couple of days. We'll post it on our website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com, and you'll probably find it on Facebook too. There's two places where we publish our podcast. One is on our YouTube channel. Just go to Northwestern Outdoors. You'll find podcasts of this show and our sister show, Northwestern Outdoors Radio, there. The other place you can do it is through Podbean.com. Simply look for America Outdoors Radio. And oh, by the way, you can hear us on your mobile device through Podbean. Just look for the Podbean app on Google Play and download it to your Android device. Follow America Outdoors Radio, and you can hear this show on the go. One other place to hear us online is at RenoViolaOutdoors.com. That's the home of WRVO Radio, an internet station dedicated to outdoors programming. That's all for this week. I do hope the good Lord blesses you greatly in the week ahead, and I hope you get outside. As you just heard, there's a lot going on out there. Until next week, remember, it's your country and your outdoors.
It's time for another local shot of the outdoors. It's the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio, and you'll only hear it here on Fox Sports 1380 KRKO.
Next on the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio, we are broadcasting from the Monroe Sportsman Show, located, as you might imagine, in Monroe in Snohomish County, not far from where a lot of you live, and we ran across a lure. It's been around for a while, but it's new to me. Grand Slam Bucktails under new ownership. With us here to tell you more about these lures that'll knock the salmon dead is John Kirkpatrick. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having us here. Appreciate it.
So, John, you and your partner own this company, and you're true locals, aren't you?
Correct, yeah. Both of us are born and raised from here. Grand Slam Bucktails has been around for 20 years. We picked it up about 2.5 years ago. The original owner just got a little burned out on running the business, and so we were proud to pick it up and keep the business going, bring out a few new colors, and just keep a really good product in the marketplace for a lot of anglers who enjoy fishing with Grand Slam Bucktails.
Since this is radio, describe the lure to our listeners.
Sure, it's a traditional bucktail style lure. It's a tube style lure, so it fishes very similar to people who fish a squid jig or something like that behind a flasher, but it allows you the versatility to rig your hook setup or your leader length any way you like to. But real versatile lure, fishes for all kinds of different species of salmon. We have people that fish them in the tropics for tuna and wahoo and things like that. Just a lot of versatility in a tube style fly bucktail.
So this being bucktail, and folks, it is a nice long bucktail as well. Are folks fishing this bare hook? Are they putting scent on it? Are they putting bait on it?
We have lots of fishermen that do different things with them. Traditionally, we recommend not soaking our lures in any sort of a scent. We like to have the fibers of our bucktails nice and free to do what they do. But we also have charters that soak their bucktails in whatever their favorite scent is overnight. But traditionally, if we're doing any sort of scent or bait, can put a little strip of herring underneath on your lead hook. Can also rub some scent on the helmet on the head of our bucktail, or just put your scent right on the flasher that you're fishing it with. So again, lots of versatility. We have all of our recommended rigging tips and different ways that we do it on our website, just GrandSlamBucktails.com, real simple. All of our rigging tips are there, and you can shop right on our website as well. So everything is right there for you.
That's Grand Slam Bucktails. You can go to the website, GrandSlamBucktails.com, or look for it at sporting goods stores throughout the greater Puget Sound area. That's Grand Slam Bucktails and GrandSlamBucktails.com. Thanks, John.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
Looking for a way to get the message out about your business to hunters and anglers throughout the Seattle and Everett area? Then consider advertising with America Outdoors Radio on Fox Sports 1380 KRKO. To find out more, contact John Cruz through his website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com.